explain it.
Anybody else who wants one?
Well, you guys don't remember Rod. Sorry, he's up before on some training of school board stuff, and he's graciously agreed to come join us tonight since we got a couple of new board members. He's going to give us the once over on all things board operation. Organization. So I'm going to shut up, Ron. Let's just tell us to speak to it.
Thank you for having me back. Thanks for what's familiar. Actually, you probably could be teaching me. So if you're here, just listen. If you have any questions, let me know. Am I any broad classes? Yes, I am. That's my boss.
Oh, they got that on tape, right?
Actually, we do.
So, I'm in my 32nd year as a resident on the Clerk's Board. So, I've experienced everything.
That's a lot of years on the school board. That's a lot of years on the school board.
Oh, did you? That's actually a new term.
I think there's nothing better than being a school board member. I think it's the most important volunteer job there is. The impact that you all have on kids. Every decision you make impacts somebody, hopefully in a positive way. That's why I do it. My term is 8-year term, 8-term president. 2027. I haven't decided if I want to. I mean, it's just, I know I never let her know, but
She'll let you know.
She'll let me know. But if you can continue to make a positive difference, it should be on the phone. So I just kind of, some of this is just a refresher. I use a lot of Felicity material. However, as I said last night, you may remember, I'm not always a fan of those. They've done some crazy things over the years, and sometimes they've had to be pretty heavy-handed, and they don't think about the real world like I think they should. But I think for the most part, their information is pretty good, and so let's take it. The most important thing that you do as a board member is hire legally is your only employee. You report to you. Period. I mean, yes, you sign contracts, you do negotiation and all that stuff, but he's or she
Thank you for
is really, that's most important. If you don't have a good relationship with somebody, it's just different. And I think that I've been respectful of being able to look at the surface and not being able to look at it. And you also know that your job is not to run the day-to-day operations. You don't want to. You know, you don't want to be. Most of the superintendents have years and years of experience in education. The laws and things, less the good people. But you need to be involved. And so the board members how these children in charge, how are we involved? Well, we work together. Hopefully that's what you do. Hopefully you know what's going on. Hopefully So what has worked, and I've done all different types of evaluation. We do a quarterly check-in. I do a quarterly check-in. The board does a quarterly check-in. For the superintendent, we have one in January. And it's done in executive session. And I want to touch on executive session here in just a second. So we meet in executive session, and we kind of just put here and this staff has accomplished this last quarter based on our strat plan or whatever you want to call it, our goals. And it's kind of we advance it back and forth, what we think has been great, concerns that we have, or fabulous. We do that 3 times a year, and then the 4th time is time. We just kind of tie everything together. Next is evaluation. He knows, she knows. They know there's no surprises when you get evaluation. And if you have a really good relationship, he can tell you things that he doesn't like what's going on before. I don't know if you have a little bit. That's kind of what he likes. That's kind of the dream of this evaluation that we do. He's comparing most of it 30 years. That's what's in sure. Jared has he's very comfortable in calling the world, or we don't get personal. They can you kind of overstep your boundaries. Public participation. Public participation is for the public to speak. You should never, ever respond to public participation. You respond, it should be participation. You never respond if you don't know the other side of the coin. You may have a parent come in and they're upset, or they whatever, and they're just shooting their mouth off. That happens. You don't know the other side. A superintendent will inform you of the issue. Maybe if he knows prior to when they deal, you'll have it. Don't ever respond to public participation. You have to remember your business meeting, this business meeting that you're going to have tonight is your meeting. And there will be folks who will be telling you that you don't have to have public participation. I think that's good stuff. No matter how hot it gets, you have a participation. I don't know how to bring it.
I didn't know that we had an option with regard to allowing public participation.
So you don't have to have it.
I'm not agreeing with that, but I didn't even know. I did learn just by being here what you just said about not participating or not interacting with the public is commenting, and could have easily fallen into that because it's not there.
Valerie, are you in the chair? Okay. So, something that's working statewide, school board justice, and you're probably so good, is when it comes to council public participation, here's the process, you got 2 minutes to speak. I don't know how to do it. Whatever the limit is, be respectful, and we're not going to respond. We're very close. And give them their stuff. So they don't think you're just ignoring them. You're not. Now, the most important thing of that is your superintendent needs to make some type of contact, like the next day or sometimes even from whoever is speaking. That, you can't just let it go. But you need to have some type of contact.
With the program, yeah, that's the way, currently, as you guys know, it's organized into our agenda. Okay.
And I'm not telling you, I'm just, you run it however you want to do, but statewide, we have hot spots all over the state school boards. It's everywhere. And to me, I've never seen the like it. I mean, Springfield, 5-member board. The 3 other board members voted the chair and vice chair out of their seats and replaced them. I'm not going to get into the reason why, but not behave, basically. Hamilton area over there, just messes everywhere. Eugene messes. It's just like, I don't get it. If folks follow the rules and the responsibilities of what a board should do, they're not going to have
I was just going to say this for their sake as a new. So what happens is if somebody doesn't want to speak, then they actually go to Dawn. They actually, instead of regular plans, if you want to speak, you need to let the board secretary know. So they inform Dawn that they want to speak to the board member, or the board meeting. Then we give them time at the board meeting. I make sure that Valerie's aware that they want to speak. I generally have an idea what they want to talk about. Generally, not always. But, and then after when we've had them, I've actually talked to the board about this before about this. So let them speak their part, and then I'll follow up. And that's what we've done. So far, so good. Because in most cases, they want me to address it anyway.
Here's what happens. And I'm guilty. I'm still guilty. I know that. You want to help. You want to help. You know, you're serving purple tea. How come you're not serving green peas? And you want to get up after the board meeting, you're still there. You know, I don't know why they're serving purple peas, but I'll find out for you. But that's not, because I don't know why they're serving purple peas. Maybe they got, I don't know, you know. I don't know if there are such things, but
They go well with green eggs and ham.
yeah.
Right.
So you don't know the other side. You gotta let them know. Now, other issues that happen is, and I'm guilty of this too, even now, is, and I know better, is you're out and about. And patients and they start complaining or worship, they start complaining on does that ever happen? And you wanna listen, but you wanna say, you know, I hate the term chain of command, but that's what it is. You know, have you talked to some of this, it's a little bit different, but have you talked to the folks, you know, have you talked to principals, have you talked to the teacher, you know, right? And then you kind of drop it, and you'll call the superintendent, and hey, you know, Jody stop and talk, and I just want you to be clear, and this is what I told her. You can't take notes, and you can't say, well, I'm going to follow up on that, so I'm going to take care of that. You can't do that. It's difficult. You don't, like I said, you don't know what the other side is. But you want to help. And that's the problem. I mean, even in very small communities, you want to help. That it doesn't, you know,
Sometimes it'll create bigger mess.
increase business. So you can do it in a way where you're not shutting them. That's not what I want you should do. But you need to have the professionals. And, now, if it isn't getting taken care of, then that's an issue. So I would follow that. And then the other big issue across the state is board members just not getting along. I mean, I'm reading this and you just need to be respectful. And I'm very conscious of you all.
Pretty simple.
Yeah, it's number one, it's embarrassment because your meetings are live, correct? And are they archived like the next day? And so people go back and watch it. And you just need to be discussed. You don't have to agree, and you don't have to go and shout in board meetings. I think you guys do that. I wanted to watch meetings and I apologize. Because everybody's going to get an opportunity. Right? Right, Charlie? You're not. So everybody gets an opportunity to speak. And I'm sure God will. And then the other hot topic is how many of you use the school district email?
Do now. Haven't for years, but.
Okay. So do you all use it?
No.
So a couple things we need to be careful about. That is, if I file the public, then all that email says is public. You're aware of that, right?
Yeah, there's things called lawsuits that happen too.
I know. That's a conversation for next week. But it's true. It's all considered public. You can't email school district emails. You cannot make decisions. You can't be running a board meeting like, And so if your superintendent sends out a heads up, and you want to respond, please don't respond all. Because it'll get you in trouble. I mean, you may say, because you may have put something in that email that, I don't like plants, I don't plant some. It's a very dog. I just and before you know it, it's just, you need to be careful. The school district emails are not to be making decisions.
That's why I didn't email you back, Joe. I'm not comfortable operating that. I'll see you in a couple days.
So, I send very few messages out on my school email. I'll respond if it's a school that isn't that. The government's in my back pocket enough. I don't want to give them an opportunity, or whoever.
So are you sending emails as your personal email?
I generally, if I have things, it's a call.
So an email between a director and Joe, who, I deal with Joe personally on issues. I mean, there's some things that I need to talk to my superintendent about personally. It would not be appropriate for me to email him on the school email.
Sure, yeah. Oh, but I'm just telling you,
Yes.
Yeah, I'm just telling you,
we've seen that.
School district emails are public domain, so to speak, if that's not right. But if I wanted information, filed something, I want to see your emails.
Yeah.
To the school district, they would get it.
Right.
So most definitely professional and respectful.
Yes. And then one other hot topic. You guys all know who cases are statewide insurance. And so we've had, for this last year, I've had two really big things to deal with as a board member. One was we were the charter for Phoenix Charter School. I don't know many of you were following that. And there's a contract with them. And so it's in 2020 was in the third contract that I was involved in. So 2025 is the last contract with them. And we decided to go with Dr. Mills for OSBA. I don't know if you've used, she's a guru when it comes to charter schools.
speak.
Yes, and maybe you've used her down here, but, pigs also could use those years, because they were in member, because they're a charter school, public charter school. And we hired her to do the evaluation. The state has documentation on the form that they follow very good. And that was our process. Followed all the way through, because we took a lot of heat. A lot of these, their executive board, I know most of them, were movers and shakers in those groups. And we wanted an independent evaluation of things. And at the end of the process, she highly recommended that we not renew the charter. And we went through the process, and so we did not renew the charter. There's and things closed, but they reopened on doing something. I'm not sure what they're doing. But we could all keep from doing that. And the reason why I'm telling you this is Pace told us, and we had our attorneys involved, Pace told us that if we followed what our attorney suggested and what Pace suggested, individual board members could not get sued. The district could get sued. I mean, maybe somebody thought we didn't follow the procedure and we're not doing it. Maybe it did. Second big issue is the transgender gal, those folks want to use the locker room that
Got me national news, I'm pretty sure.
no, I never imagined, when I first got on the board, our concern was making sure that rifles weren't stolen out of the gun racks in the back of the pickup. Right? That's what our concern was. And then now, no guns. I never imagined in 100 years we would be talking about students who do not have boys plumbing going into the boys locker room, or students who have boys plumbing using the girls locker room. I never imagined in all these years it would come up, but you know what? It can happen here. It can happen in any district. Because the state tells us, that's the state law. No matter what President Trump said, the executive order is still state law. We have a very conservative board. Some of the board members, very conservative. And they told us, you're walking a fine line, you might as well start writing your checks. And if you go against what we're suggesting, you can be sued, and we're not going to cover you. We can't cover you. I worked too hard for my retirement to be sued. Okay. That $450 an hour is what most attorneys are charging now. And so, no matter how things are, things that you don't agree with, sometimes you've got to think it's worked out. It's become more of a privacy issues, things like that. If your Pace attorney tells you something and you go against it, you're not going to get covered individually. Sorry,
So why does state law supersede federal law?
There's really not federal law. It's an employment law. It's not federal law. And then you start throwing Title IX in. Rhina, I raised 3 parents and I raised 2 daughters. No way. But people are smart enough, parents are smart enough. We're going to pull a child out of that environment. Because that's all kids do. I don't know. But it worked, it's okay. But it wasn't comfortable. And so, whether you like it or not, not, if they try it, you better follow, you're opening up yourself on a lawsuit. You don't want to do that.
Yeah, these students are getting planted into schools too. I mean, there's groups that are actually planting female students or male students who looks just like a female. When they walk in and talk to Joe and whoever about becoming a student at Day Street, you think they're a female. And lo and behold, you got a male. And now you got all these issues right here that we're talking about. And these groups actually are looking at certain schools going, that one's next.
Yeah.
It's a political deal, man. It's a big deal.
Yeah. So, Charlie, did you have I could touch on?
No, it was just about why,
Oh, yeah, you asked me.
the
Sorry.
losses.
Yeah. I think someday we'll be on. And we won't have that. Okay. So, just board responsibilities is you establish policies. You establish policies, and you guys probably do policies every once in a while. Refresh policies.
Are you ready for the second?
We're implementing our policies on right now. The only reason I came back to the board meeting is because we weren't doing policies.
Employees contracts, I don't know when you guys will be negotiating again. That's one of your main things. Provide transportation. Here's a good thing. Rules and regulations governing student behavior. That's your responsibility. Can you remember the policies are your policies updated on that? Equipment and furnished buildings, provide student transportation, provide food for students, acquire real estate. I don't think we're acquiring real estate for a reason, but that's manager role. Levy bond and local option taxes. And then you gotta make sure that the district is complying with state and federal laws. Now, how do you do that?
Give it to Joe and the attorney.
Exactly. Because he knows that stuff.
I do have a question. So, we said before about the board approving students. So, behavior stuff. Should the handbooks be given to us to okay at the beginning of the year to okay for the year if there's changes? Or do we not deal with the handbooks, just policies?
We used to do work at the handbooks. Personal, our stuff. I don't know. I think it's something that's I don't know how you want that. I don't know.
And different schools handle it differently.
Yes. Because their handbooks should be based on the policies.
Yeah.
It should be based on policies. It shouldn't be based on an educator's whim that I think I'm going to change this without. There's something that the superintendent's going to, that you don't need to have him be involved in. The handbook's pretty important, especially when it comes to here's the procedure. If you're not behaving in class, here's the procedure.
I think I would love that at the beginning of the school year when there's changes made to the handbook. If just like at the first meeting of the year, something like, hey, this is the handbook you approved last year. These are the changes we made this year. And just so to be aware of the changes in the handbook.
Or something reprinted, so there's something in there that you don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who normally, you're saying the handbook, what's in the handbook should basically reflect policy.
Exactly.
And who would you say normally would write a handbook?
Well, OSBA has a lot of that kind of stuff. And your handbooks, probably started when handbooks were probably in this district. How long has this district been? 100 and some years. So I'm kind of jokey, but there's always been a handbook.
Yeah.
And they should be looked at every year before you return it.
And they should reflect policy.
And they should reflect policy.
Okay.
Yeah. Agree, Joe?
Yeah, we have two main handbooks. One is the student parent handbook, the other one is the staff handbook. And they're reviewed and updated every summer. I will tell you, when I first got here, I found that the OSBA handbook was highly utilized in the text of it because it was literally copied in some cases twice into the handbook and in large chunks. And so there was a lot of revision that had to be done my first year to just make it readable, honestly. But since then, we do it every summer. We do it every summer. We update it.
Policies will save your butts. But you gotta use them. You have to. Somebody rephrase it. Your butts will be saved if you follow your policy and AR. If you're doing something else and I'm a parent and I decide, I'm one of those parents that sues the district every week. I mean, they're out there. We all have them.
Yeah.
We all have them. And they say we're not following policy, and you get taken to court, the district gets taken to court, and they say, yeah, you're not following your own policy. I mean, the federal government does that. State government does that. You need to, and if you don't like it, if it's not for you, you can change policy. There's a procedure to change policy. First reading, second reading, an option. Change policy. If you can't change the ARs, that's what drives policy, and that's the legal part of the policy, but change the policy. What policy in Roseburg that works may not work here.
But our hands are still tied somewhat to change policy to abide by state.
Yes, but you can tweak your policy to make it work. Yeah, if you have policy wrong, you can Joe's fix that. You can make it work.
Yeah.
Good board, a good running board, I kind of had upon this, is everybody gets an opportunity to speak at a meeting. Everybody knows going into the meeting, everybody's read their board packet, right? And it's tough at times, especially in a family. And if you have a family and there's stuff going on, dealing with stuff, it's tough. But out of respect for superintendent and the business folks, when you get your board packet, I don't know if you get it a week before, I don't know. Take the time to read that board packet. And if there's questions, it's really better to call superintendent and say, hey, I have a question on this.
Please do.
That is, you're going to get a really good answer. And you're going to get time that you're going to understand what the question is. In a board meeting, you don't know what's going to happen. So it's kind of a two-way street. Make sure you take time to read the board packet. It's critical. You never know what's going to do.
If the director would like to make a motion at a future meeting, what is the method that director would use to let the board know that he or she would like to make a motion on an issue that they believe needs to be addressed?
Okay, so you have a good relationship with your chair?
Yeah.
Okay. I would talk to the chair. Say, hey, I'd really like to do this. I think this is an important thing to cover. And remember, the chair and the superintendent, they're the ones that set the agenda. I'm assuming that's how we're doing it here. The three, fabulous. Do you have debrief meetings?
Yeah.
Okay. That's okay. Debrief meetings are Huh?
We might need to start.
Yeah, a debrief meeting is, you can do it right after, the next day, a couple days after the board meeting, or sometimes the evening after, if it's not long, you can have a debrief meeting, but this is when we call it the leadership, you know, you have a board member who says, you know, I really like to bring this motion up. And, you can act, you know, you've got your leadership team here, you can phone another board member, you should kind of have a majority, you know, and if your board's working well, it's not going to be an issue. But I would go through the board chair and say, hey, you know, and this is why I think you should do this. Or she might say, you're full of crap. I'm not, no, we're not going to bring that forward. I don't know. You know, that's how I would do it.
Okay.
I think that's the cleanest way. Bringing something up during a board meeting isn't always the, you know, to make a, you know, what you could do is during a meeting, say, you know, I'd like to have this. Is it possible to have this item on as an agenda item at the next board meeting?
Yes.
You know, and then you're going to kind of, you get a consensus. Like, yeah, I think I'd like to have conversation with that, and maybe, you know, see how it goes.
But the approach should be with the chair rather than the superintendent.
Well, they work hand in hand.
Yes.
I think I think it's better to the board chair.
Okay.
You know, because she can nix him if he puts something on the agenda. Has she ever done that?
All the time.
There we go.
Carries around all week.
There we go.
For like minded.
I'm really pleased that your meeting, the chair and vice chair meets. I think.
And that's actually where a lot of times, where if you decide something's not going to go forward or shouldn't go forward this time, that's what we got. Maybe let's leave it up this time, or maybe we'll handle it this way. You know, so that's
If Dennis talked to you, do the directors of board members, we call it boss directors, but that's not right. It's just stupid. I don't know how some people think. But do you guys have an opportunity? Is there a spot on your agenda where board members have a spot?
Director's report.
Director's report. Yeah. Hey, you know, huh?
They got that from you, Rob?
Yep.
I would.
She paid attention.
That's where you can say, hey, you know, in your report, you're not speak, you know, because it's your time.
Right.
Say, you know, I'd like the board to consider this.
Yes.
And for a future meeting, and I can provide information to you. You know, I'm more than happy to talk to the board chair. You know, maybe that might be a little better way to do it.
Sure. Okay. Thank you.
You know, but you don't want to be silent.
The committees have to be formed in the public. In the public meetings. Like if we have something that appears like we're concerned about, we can't be like, oh, we'll look into that and report at the next meeting, like just not on a meeting. But be like, okay, well you and you and you will look into it and report at the next meeting. Does that have to happen?
You can't have, if you have a forum,
You can't have that. Yeah,
you can't have a forum without it being,
So before.
unless it's open. Yeah, it would be 4. But you can say, you know, I need 3 people to look into this.
Yeah, you can do that without a meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you don't have it's not a forum. If you get 4,
Then
yeah. How many times do we, after the meeting, we meet on the parking lot? Do we ever stop and meet with each other? Okay. You have 4 people. You have 4 people.
Not for talking about board stuff.
Well, it's been hard to find out.
If the meeting is here, you just say, no, we're not going fishing. Okay, not about going fishing, because you probably don't have to worry. You don't have a lot of media down here, I don't think.
Not often.
Yeah, but you still want to follow that, because you'll get somewhere along the line. You're going to get this.
Even if it's not media, there could be a grumpy parent.
Yes. So let's move in real quick into executive session. So we had an executive session yet.
coming up, because it's, you know, evaluation time.
Okay. So, for the experience, the veteran board members, so we go into executive session. And, you know, the media can go into executive session. There's 4 things that they can't, reporters may attend, cannot be excluded from executive sessions with 4 exceptions. When labor negotiations are being discussed, when an expulsion hearing for a student is being discussed, when a student's medical record is being included in their educational program, and if the reporter has a relative that works for the district, then they can't come into executive session. But other than that, if a reporter wants to come into executive session, you have to let them in. They can't report. They can report what the topic was, but they can't report details. So they can't. And you all have a book, or if you don't have a book, make sure they get you a packet of the workmanship, because that's all in here. Now, you've all been. 5 have been in executive sessions, right? And you're here, let's see, you're going in to evaluate, talk evaluation of the superintendent. Do you stick to that conversation, or does it go sideways? Do you leave it talk about something else?
No, we stick pretty close to what we're in executive session for.
Except for
want to go
Fish.
home.
Except for Fish. It's really critical that you stick to it as close as you can. I'm not saying we've never gone off.
Usually when we have, it seems like somebody will bring it up and say, we're
Good.
off topic.
A board chair will bring it up. Superintendent will bring it up. They're not, executive sessions are not shared review. So, is it wise to bring a staff member into an executive session?
Can it even happen? It can't happen, can it?
It has happened.
We can invite a staff member into an executive session.
Yeah, it has happened.
It's advised against, if I do recall,
Yes.
to bring them in.
In fact, I think it's happened here.
It has happened here for part of it, and then I spoke up and said it's time for him to go.
You know, it's not the only time that, it's not the only district.
Yeah.
You should never bring a staff member into executive session. Ever. You, 7 board members, are elected by the community. You're in kind of a different house, so to speak. Superintendent is different. He's your only employee. Please do not bring a non-board member as a superintendent into executive session.
What about Leah?
She can't, because she's a confidential.
Okay.
Is the board secretary also technically?
I'm assuming the board secretary is confidential. Confidential
So I believe
employee.
we looked into that one, and you can ask the board secretary to leave.
Yes, you can. You just have to have somebody take notes. So,
Notes are recorded.
no,
In that issue where.
if they don't have,
Yeah, if you let them in executive sessions.
yeah, no, they're not.
Okay, that was.
They're just notes. They're kind of sacred. Session sessions are kind of a sacred thing. You know, when you bring a non-board member into, they are not precluded from going out and shooting alcohol. And you know what happens. It's like, remember that thing in first grade or second grade, third grade, when we would get, you go out of the classroom, we tell a story. The next person, you have 7 students telling you know, how it goes down, and by the time the seventh person comes in to tell the story, it's completely different than what the first one. That's what happens. Executive sessions are sacred.
How about in a lawsuit where you're under oath? Are you forced to disclose what happened in an executive session?
Never. They may try to squeeze you out of that, but you know what? I would go to jail. I would go to jail before I would. That's how strong I feel about the executive session.
Could you go to jail for answering the question under oath that took place in executive? Could you go to jail for actually answering the question while under oath and disclosing what happened?
Would I go to jail? Yeah. I don't know if you could, but if you could, and I don't answer, I would go. Does that make sense?
No, what I'm asking is if you went ahead and answered the question.
Or I decided to answer.
Yeah.
Could you actually? I could be, yes.
Even though you're under oath.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. I'm not an attorney, but I have been on our board where I've had 4 attorneys and board members. Do you think that was a good? So I don't know for sure on that.
Okay.
You know, to be honest with you, I don't know, but personally, what goes on in executive session stays.
So I just want to comment on the confidentiality. Once you say you're confidential, I want to explain to that. It's like, yes, I'm personally confidential, but also I have to sign a confidential agreement, which means I go to jail if I talk. You know, so I could get personal. So that's why Don and I both have this. That's why we're considered also that GPA and you're confidential employees we sign and we are not going to this. So that's what we need to say confidential. So that's what
And they also have access to student records.
Yeah.
So they're very good. I personally have been in executive sessions, and what I have said has gone out of the executive sessions. Best we can recall, when was the superintendent chief, Malkoff, who was terminated. That was one of that. That wasn't the reason, but thankfully he's gone away. I think I came from the board members something. And the soft just no, it's not on the board. You can't. It's just really a big deal. Really, really big deal. The district over in Eastern Oregon that I wanted to talk to you about, the issue they're having is a board member went out to the community. Happens all the time, but you don't want it to happen regularly. And got together with friends and just said some terrible things about staff. And it got out. It just kept growing and growing and growing. And now there's a big lawsuit. And it's just a group of people. We don't want that ever to happen to any of us. You just, you know, when you're out with office, just be professional. I mean, you were elected. You're an elected person. I know the district has known, correct? You're still responsible for all the businesses in the district. It's not your little corner of the world. Zones were designed years and years ago to make sure that portion had some representation. It's like UCC, you know, you got a zone down here, a zone down there. So there would be representation. That all was done. It wasn't designed that. And so this board member thinks that his or her, I don't remember what it is, that they're only responsible for their little piece of the training. and it's just creating a mess. You need to always be professional with your staff. Always. Do you have an issue with a staff member? It's not your job to say you're not a staff member. Stop to go. You probably already know that staff member has got to go. It's just not your job to get out there and it's hard. Any questions? Executive sessions we went over. Everybody knows the role of the board chair. Yes. They and the vice chair. Even the board chair. 2 years. I think you can do it up to 4 years.
Was that it?
And then you have to have a break. You have a break.
Then I should know how long I've been doing this.
And so they are to run the meetings, and which is an outstanding job, and sets the agenda, and when you go out in the community, she's your voice. So if there's a hot topic, he generally will handle it, but there are times when the board chair should be handling that with.
So when there's a new board member, you say, oh, this is Ollie Anderson's number, she's the board chair.
That's what I do.
And the phone rings, but I just don't answer it.
No, I said, if you want to talk to me, you can talk to me in person.
Because we did have a situation where at one point a student wrote a letter and we had no board meeting coming up, and Laura and I got together and responded to said letter because it was to the board, and then called and informed everybody, hey, by the way, this is what came in, we're aware of the history, this is what we did, so yeah.
So did you happen to look at it before you sent it or after?
After, I don't think we sent it before.
So that happens. That
We did a response, but
You
there
did a
was a date
response.
coming up that was.
I'm fine. You gotta do what you gotta do. You know if you are at an insurance company, for example, and they say, hey, we wanna do we want a quote for your liability insurance. Sure, yeah, you can do that, and I'm sure you're gonna get it. Well, that would be found non-invoice because you're not representing the district. The board didn't give you permission to go out to do that. And there have been issues where, somebody went out speaking on behalf of the board, and no, it didn't happen because they didn't have the authority to do that. Be careful about that.
So, I just was reading over the Big Charter School and the Douglas County Charter School Personnel Procedure. It says the district board shall have the final decision-making authority for the selection and hiring, evaluation, discipline, and dismissal of DCF teaching and administrative and operations staff. So that's the kind of concept of what you were saying with me.
Usually the superintendent, recommends.
Yeah, I make recommendations to the board doesn't make the final decision.
Okay. All right. Anyway.
I know, but it's kind of like, it's like, they're not your employees, but you hire,
Yeah.
hire and
And
fire
I said
them.
you-
It's on the recommendation of the superintendent.
Right, and,
So when I bring you guys, and you guys don't know this, but when I bring you guys the list of staff, okay, that I present to you in March, and I share with you what their status is in regards to if they're permanent or whether they're year 1, year 2, whatever that is. I make make recommendations to you that you maybe tenure that teacher, make them permanent, or did you give them a second? Those are all recommendations. And that's also why we do the executive session, is because if you have any questions about any of them, right? And you remember that I do it that way, that's like, hey, this is the time when we put it on the table, you guys ask me about any of these people, you guys have an opportunity as well. Anybody on the list, you have questions about this, is the time to get it out, because we're making decisions.
So you bring that to executive session, but you don't make a decision in executive session.
No.
You go out the public. I like that because we don't go into executive sessions on that. We should.
Yeah.
We do, there has
You
been
have
times.
publicly?
Well, we don't talk. We get it early enough where there's an issue with policy or the paragraph.
You got one for us too.
We don't want, yeah. That's right, yeah, I like taking it to the executive session. We might have to do that.
You get a chance to.
So, after, I thought you were going to ask me a charter school question, but I'm not sure.
Well, I just happened to be reading that here the other day, and it's like, well, it kind of conflicted with what you said, or I guess they go hand in hand.
They do. Questions?
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, I like to spend more time with the board members, but if you don't have this, the boardmanship, if you don't have this book, the boardmanship sheet, somebody make sure they have it, it's really good. It's really, really good. And if you have a question, I'm retired, I always see one. Always.
I think one of the things that I'm going to say this is just the following. I was just going to say, I think one of the nice things about this group is that there is a friendly collegiality that does exist here. I think people are very comfortable asking and inserting when they feel like they need to. And I don't see anybody ever really shut down.
I have a really good feeling about it. Got you guys off. You did a fabulous job. It's very cool.
Well, I appreciate you taking time.
Yeah.
It's always nice to have another collaborator.
Anyway, anytime, Charlie's never afraid.
Okay.
Thanks, you know.
I believe I have your phone number.
Maybe I can change
Good to see everybody.
Thanks for being here.
Right. All from different.
That's why we have all ID.
This was the best trail my grocery outlet. Like, it was so bad. And it's 15 more back on the I did that by
You probably do that. That's fascinating. You're right. I don't know if the race is
We should have like literally her name on it. It's probably given her somewhere near her desk, because last board meeting I wrote their names on theirs and handed them back to her. Like that.
Oh, okay, I didn't know. I
But you need to get a hard copy.
I was pretty good.
I think you can also access it on the link. Yeah.
After the afternoon, I'll be awesome.
Okay. Welcome, everybody, to the December meeting of the Board of Directors. Let us start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First order of business is to approve tonight's agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the next agenda.
Moved and seconded, all in favor? Everyone okay. All right. Student of the Month Award.
Well, I didn't know I was going to use that. All right. So, our elementary student is Mariah Giles. Come on, Mariah. Not here, so I'm going to read what it says. Mariah Giles is the 4th grade daughter of Leah and Matt Giles, who are here tonight. This is the word right. She is hardworking and caring. She always follows directions immediately and pushes herself herself to do her best in all academic areas. She is the farthest in her class in Rocket Math and recently became a self-manager. I can sit her next to any student and she is kind and helpful. That is Mariah. Mariah, I'm going to give you a hug.
Congratulations, Mariah.
Our middle school student is James Beckman. Come on up, James. And Mr. McClellan nominated James, and he's not here tonight, but he says, James Beckman is the 8th grade son of Kitty Rogers. Mr. McClellan writes, I don't know James very well. He's the rare, quiet student in that class. Now I know he has been through a lot in his short life. I just checked his grades, and he has all A's and 1 B. After speaking with administration, I found that James really struggled the last couple of years. He even struggled getting to school. It looks like he has totally turned things around. He has perfect attendance this year and almost straight A's.
I'd like to add to that. I heard when I spoke with Mr. McCollum today about him not being able to be here. He actually said that he had spoken to James, the football coach, too, and said that James on the football team this year. He said James was one of the most important players on the team because he was not just hard-working, but he always did what he was asked to do, and he wasn't argumentative in any way, and he actually kind of set a model for those other players. He did it as a single practice, and he was just very proud of what he had done. Congratulations.
Good job, All right, all right, Sawyer Payne. This is probably going to be playing the basketball.
He is. He's out there, yeah.
All right.
But let's read him in the record. His teacher is here.
All right. So the teacher that nominated him this year, would you like to speak?
Sure.
All right. Yes.
So, it is my pleasure that I nominated Sawyer Payne for Student of the Month. Sawyer exemplifies what it means to be a positive role model through his commitment to academics, respect for others, and involvement in school activities. Sawyer approaches challenges with determination and encourages classmates with a supportive and inclusive spirit. Whether contributing to class discussions, helping peers, or leading by example in extracurriculars, he consistently shows integrity and dedication. Sawyer is a student who not only achieves personal success, but also inspires those around him.
What the audience knows is I will present Mr. Sawyer in my class, or in my office, where I will also read to him the same words Mr. Phil shared tonight.
Okay, well, you are all free to hang out and enjoy the rest of the meeting with us. Thank you. Or go treat your students of the month with a nice dinner. We'll take it all.
So there was some confusion about this game with Captain. I don't know if you heard that story, but so James is actually out there arranging to call him and join us.
Alright, well, let's start the board meeting report first. I usually do that. Joe?
Actually, I got more to say than that. I'll be right back.
Approved and when the and stuff the meeting dates for you know the ones they have off and so on.
I think they have like,
Yeah,
10 meetings still or something?
because of the evaluation, but it's still helpful. The meetings go after, I mean, they're
Last
like on.
meeting, I was at, Denver, there was also, so it seems like.
Yeah, they have one.
Normally, walking like this around the gym for me,
They have an idea of what it's just like a quick day that gets done.
So I will tell you just this about the charter board, just so that they did not meet last month, but they are going to be meeting probably next Monday. We're still waiting to confirm that date works for everybody on the charter board, but their ambition is to meet to discuss and examine the charter contract, make sure it all is good to them. I have a little bit more depth of that in my report, actually. I'll go into greater depth when that comes to the report.
The next thing on the.
Yes, but we'll wait for James before we do A.
So we can,
So the charter contract and holding the public hearing in January. So we also have, or will have, a copy of the new charter that has made it through the attorney.
yes. So Kristen Miles, she mentioned, Dr. Kristen Miles, I worked with her on the initial review of the contract. She really liked what she saw. And she had a couple tweaks, but nothing major. Then sent it over to our attorneys at Gerardine and Robertson, and they were sure the finance department. And they gave us a couple of versions. The one tip in there that they explicitly gave us that was different than anything I've seen or anywhere is, I'll just tell you this right now. It's on page 15, I think. Is it 12? It's where, yes, it is 12, thank you. On page 12, section 9, it talks about annual charter school CAP report. And what that talks about is, annually, the charter should be reporting to this school board about these things on this list about school performance. Because the whole idea behind the charter is that you, as a representation of the community, have empowered them to oversee the school being run to make sure it's performing. So they have an obligation annually to report to you that it is. And you guys generally get that in what's called a Division 22 report, which, so really, actually it goes out like that. But this actually is calling for a lot more detail about some aspects of the school than we give in Division 22. It gets down into specifics about achievement data, growth, attendance. I usually give that information to you guys in bits and pieces as we go through the year, but this is kind of a suggestion of all in one report. So that's probably the biggest single difference in this versus what you see in the previous documents, previous contracts, I should say.
So the goal will be to have everybody review this before the January meeting, and then we will discuss it at that meeting, and it'll be kind of a public hearing for everybody the public can be here to comment.
So we'll make known to the public that that's being reviewed at that time as well. And so from that conversation, and any input that comes out of that meeting, we can make alterations then to the contract. Whatever those alterations are, I will vet them with our attorneys to ensure that they are done correctly and, instead of just go personally in, okay? And then bring that back to you for essentially what would be like a second read in February. At that time, you could approve it. You could say, hey, I'm still worried about X, Y, or Z. Push it off to March if you like, whatever the case might be. Just know that this is actually doesn't have to be approved until the end of April, so we're still well on the timeline in regards to getting it completed.
Good job.
The case number, Mr. Ellis.
All right, back to Mr. Ellis.
Yeah.
So we're thanks for coming tonight. To discuss the Student Athlete of the Year Award, have you been able to nail down some criteria a little bit better?
I tweaked a little bit of things just based on some of the feedback and after thinking over some of what I thought how things should be weighed. The typical points, I don't know how many students. And I think you last year.
Maybe you should review what
how you approach it.
Okay, so basically, not going back into all the weeds, the last meeting was that there's obvious evidence, of, some shortcomings on my part, with communication with coaches and things like that in the voting process, and trying to be able to make the process more concrete, and a little bit less open-ended. So I had a number of bullet points that I thought we could take a look at. I think it's something board members were in favor of looking more in depth to that. So all I did basically was try to make it more, even more concrete. I'll share it with you this fast. I'll keep it up on and I went down, I put it in groups like varsity sports, state recognition, league recognition, and then gave a point system to it. Gave a point system to look at, what type of, that I thought based on other schools and what they do, it was a little bit more, easier to kind of compute, easier to understand. Do the same process. The coaches would come together, we'd go through this point system of the kids that were nominated. We'd take a look at them based on this criteria, come up with a point total, and kind of go from there. Some of the things that were said before was not weighing just straight points, maybe for let's take this. So there's a student out right now that goes up for 4 or 5 sports. Before we were disabled, they had 4 or 5 sports, and one student had 2 or 3. So they would have significantly more points there. But let's face it, I've been here long enough to see some kids have been 3 or 4 sport athletes that probably weren't deserving of those full points, because I didn't want to be weighted as heavily. I've had kids that, they played 4 sports, but they didn't let her. They were just kind of there, right? Then you've got other kids that were in 2 or 3 sports that letters were MVP, yada. So what I did was that first one, I said number of sports played current year. I made that like a 0.25 for each sport instead of a point, because I thought that might outweigh if it was maybe only out for 2 sports, but got more accolades. So those are the kind of things that I kind of tried to tweak in this to make it more fair and not weighted so that it was just on the number of sports. I thought that was a valid point. I was not in favor of not at least considering a student that was like in 4 sports and limiting it to maybe 2 or 3. So I didn't feel like we could do that. So I thought I just would weight it less. Does that make sense? And then there was just some other things that I wanted to do. You guys can look at those. And I tried to point. I'm not locked into these point systems at all. That's just kind of what I had looked at. I looked at the way the state does recognition for all state and things like that, how they run their points, how we do it in our all league selections. And I tried to come up with something that hopefully we can move forward on and this year forward. So everything that I gave you before is kind of here, but it's just changed maybe the point system. And like I said, my hope was, and I know we have lives that are outside of this room, my hope was that we could kind of look at that and shoot on it a little bit, and then say, I don't think this needs to be a qualifier, or I think we should add this as a qualifier. We're missing this. This was just a starting point for me, with you guys. So I'll give you a few minutes to kind of look that over.
I got a dumb question. What's the POY?
Players view.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I would love to run a committee. I think I said last week, and we've never talked to it. That would work with things on this, or you could look at it a little bit better and get people that are interested, and then meet with him, and then bring it back to the board as maybe a action item.
I think that's a super great idea.
I want to say this is really objective, James. There's no room for bias in what you're doing here, which I think is great.
Well, it helps me a great deal.
Yeah, it's very, very objective. Maybe too objective in a way. I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing things like, an athlete being recognized in some form for helping his teammates do better. Mm-hmm. There's sportsmanship, work ethic. There's some more or less objective things that are really important to me when I look at what our athletic program does for students' formation into adults.
Yeah, I think that gets a little bit into, and I don't disagree with you. But what that does is that makes it really hard to decide. It's concrete. That would be one of those things that I think the coaches in a meeting. So let's say we got two kids that are just neck and neck, and they're just a few points off maybe. And then we look at those things.
Yeah,
And we look at those things as a coaching committee, and we have that in the language somewhere that it's not just the points, but it could be these other things that the coaches talk about.
Should be some subjectivity.
Yes. Yeah. And it's the same way when we do all these stuff. I mean, but the coaches will vote, and there will be numbers that come up, and they'll put some up there. And then we say, hey, how do we feel about this? And then there might not be a kid that makes that top 5 for the first team all week. And then one coach will go, you know what? You got a great kid. He might not be the best athlete. He may not score the most points. But any one of them you're taking, and you know he would because he's got a great attitude. Versus Ken Lofty with all his teammates up. That's all the coaches usually do. Yeah, put him on the list.
Even the NFL knows that. I mean, everybody knows that that's important.
There's some kids that score great on this, but they're absolute jerks in real life.
Exactly.
But this is a
Exactly.
So it's like
And
that has
that's
to be
also
part of
part of the all-week discussion. Yes. Yeah. I'm not opposed to that. Yes. I'm not opposed to that at all. Who would you like the committee to be made up of?
I would like to be on it, and then Paul.
I would love to be on it. I've got some ideas.
You got a kid right now? You want to know?
So as board members, yeah, that's fine. So, what about the rest? Unfortunately, I would like to have maybe 2 more people.
Yeah. That's what the restrict though. If it's 4, then 4.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
You can't do 4.
Oh, gotcha. Well, no, so you guys have 2 and I have a couple.
Oh, yeah.
That's the head of the department, and you have a couple of coaches. You have a problem with, you got a discrepancy who the coaches will be. Laura, you know a little bit better, the coaches. No offense, Doctor, but you know.
No, I don't know the coaches very well.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll just vote against my own team. What if you have a few in sports right now?
I would really,
That'd be good for you.
well, let's put it this way, I would really like someone on the board. Well, again, no offense, but it really doesn't, you have a super great grasp of the athletic program. You'd be fine. Because he's new coming in, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm going to load you up with people that are coaches. I would like somebody to have an unbiased opinion that is just there listening to stuff, and I think that's awesome. I think we're good.
Yeah, you know, maybe it's a good time to say this. When I look at this, you know, I look at everything a little more comprehensively than a lot of people. I think this might be an opportunity to look at our awards program in maybe a slightly more comprehensive way. I don't want to mix it up with athletics versus awards in general, but I have some ideas that I'd like to share, and I think our awards program is really important, you know, and I don't know whether, we talked about this, James, I talked to him personally, but I don't know if it needs to be policy. I really wanted to ask Rod, while he was here today, if this kind of issue is in their policy in any of the schools in the road for because I don't know if it is. I don't know if like awards are policy or strictly protocol. And if other schools are having help, because I think the awards program is very important. And because if there's any area that there may be an appearance of bias, you know, like the justice system, there's certain things there can be no appearance of injustice. If there's any area that there could be an appearance of bias, it's in an awards program. You know, and I just think so I'm not saying it should be policy, but I would sure like to.
I will look into that, I will go back to you guys, you know, I will see what it's like.
Yeah, that'd be wonderful.
So we're online.
The only thing I think of with it is, and not being that familiar with all the sports and awards that are available, but making sure that the girls have as much of an opportunity to receive it as the boys do. Because I know awards are different.
My recommendations, like I said, last time we met, there were some recommendations that I took that as dialogue from the board and the meeting. always gonna be one boy and one girl. So it's never gonna be.
I think that's probably the plan that I don't know what we have to do.
In a technical sense, Laura started this by suggesting that we form a committee, so I don't know if that's a formal motion or not.
I move that we form a committee, for student athlete of the year selection criteria.
Technical development.
And the rest of it.
Moved and seconded, all in favor? Everyone? Perfect.
Can I ask a question, then, obviously,
They voted something.
well, I heard the motion second, I hear any discussion from.
Yeah.
I'd like to know dates and time, when would we like this wrapped up, when we don't have to have meeting times, but I'd like to know what board meeting we're going to have this done.
The awards usually given in what, May or June?
We've got time, but I'd like to have it, so we've got January might be a little bit sooner than what the Christmas season, but I was thinking maybe February, we could try to get this.
That'd be nice, because it'd be nice for students to know actually the criteria, and be like,
January is good,
this is what we have to do.
Would that be the intention, to publish the criteria to the students?
Yeah, that.
Because currently we don't have set criteria, so that.
We have criteria, but it was not concrete, and it was not communicated well.
I would just like to add my opinion to the whole criteria. I'd like to see attitude or sportsmanship, character, and even if that's a subjective vote by the coach, but have a point on the list for actually including that in another category, because I don't see it like it's been mentioned before. On there.
Well, it was in the original protocol, but again, it was very open, it is not concrete, but it's kind of a discussion back then.
So perhaps this committee could actually present maybe 2 or 3 options to the board, so that the board could actually have a discussion that allows a choice. We could do it this way or this way.
And when the committee comes together, we will come to a consensus on something, and then, this is what we all agree on, and if there are sources of where we don't, we're like, hey, this is what we need to do.
Perfect.
So we'll get together with, I'll talk to you, and we can message back and forth, and we'll give you some ideas.
So Joe, are you going to be part of this also? No. So
That was good. She was like on it, no?
Did you want to think about it?
So who's going to organize everything and like email us?
I can do that.
Okay.
I'll do that.
So honestly, I think it's best if I'm not initially, and if I need to be, then I think it's best to do this process.
Okay, so the committee members from the board are going to be Todd, Laura, and Leanne.
And we're going to use old school emails.
Yes, right.
So we'll put back in the board meeting, if that's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're trained up on this deal now.
Okay.
And it really shouldn't take that long.
No. Yeah. It'll go through it.
All right. I gotta go. Sorry about the game tonight, but that was.
Thanks, James.
Thank you, Justin. A little more stuff. Yes, just put it in the court. All right. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you. James, this is your phone.
It is. Thank you. I will do that.
We didn't want that. No. For your sake. All right. Perfect. That worked out nicely. Thank you all. All right. We need to talk about, we're on 7C, whether we're going to change the June board meeting to June 22nd.
Why are we doing that?
Well,
People have lives.
Valerie and I are both out of town. So,
good chance we're both out of town. I mean, my dates aren't
And it's also the.
tropical Hawaii. But there's a solid chance we'll both be gone on that Monday.
And the budget is involved.
And the budget is also a budget hearing. So, if we don't want to miss the meeting, then somebody else will have to step up to lead it.
And everybody.
Well, one of them could be gone.
Yeah.
As long as it wasn't the person who's going to leave.
There's 7. Oh, minus 7, minus 5.
If it works out best to move the meeting, I'd just say move to an action item and move the meeting. I don't think, it doesn't matter to me what time you meet.
I mean, you know, your other option is that you guys leave the meeting and let Laura and I have a pass on all of that. Can't break my heart.
No, I was on the phone with the interviews in my room during the day.
I've done a board meeting from Mexico.
You did. I thought that was really a bad move too, because it kind of set this precedent that maybe other people will get expected.
I'm all about leading by example.
Yeah, well, pick your examples carefully.
Okay, so it sounds like they.
I move that we move 17 to an action item.
I'll second.
It's seconded, all in favor? Everybody's left member.
Well, I didn't know if you're going to lean forward or back, so I thought maybe.
Okay, next to discuss is the graduation date. There's a conflict with state track meets again.
So the suggestion is okay, so currently our graduation day is on a Friday. The consideration is to push it back one more day, so it's on a Saturday. The new calendar that we're proposing for actually 26, 27, I put it on Saturday just because the state track meet continues to hit our graduation day. And we think they're forced to choose between going to their high school graduation or going to the state track meet. So that's the way it is on this one, and with James Lewis still here, what he can tell you is that it hasn't always been this way. They just, in the last couple of years, changed the date of the track meet onto where we traditionally call our graduation. That's why we're kind of in this kind of why we need to see this sooner. But
Saturday makes a lot of sense. It seemed like for a lot of other reasons too. I mean, a lot of people work on Friday, maybe they don't come to the graduation.
Friday travel day.
We usually have it earlier in the day too, on Saturday, and then I'll party do it afterwards on Friday. Usually the people are working on how like 7 or something.
I don't have the actual date right in front of me.
I think it's the 30th.
They also have school on Friday too, so there's that.
Yeah, the 30th.
So I'd like the board to consider moving the graduation date from the 29th to the 30th. So if it's still approved, then I'll make sure that that's publicized throughout the
I'll make a motion to do that to the action item.
Seconded, all in favor? Oh, good.
Is that Laura and Laura? Or is that
Yes.
second?
All right, superintendent evaluation. It is that time again to.
Just do that yesterday.
Can we do this like once every 2 years?
I'm down with that.
So what's going to happen is that I will be, I've got to get the evaluation form all updated with the goals, and that's something the board secretary can do. Is that anything? Is that board chair? No, and I used to do it, but I'm like.
That's why I made it on a specific point.
So we've got the evaluation form with the criteria, the rubric, but the goals We need to be. Okay, perfect. So John is gonna update it, the document.
Superimpose the superintendent goals into the evaluation rubric.
And that will be then emailed out to, yes, watch your school email. In December, yes. Well, at our January meeting, we should be having an executive session to go. I'm pretty sure we did it in January. Last year that we got together and scored, and then, because we usually give it to him at the March meeting, right?
And if we call Holly,
Okay. Because the charter board's got to do theirs too. So all of ours will need to be done and submitted to Holly at least a week before our next meeting.
January, right now.
That's actually one of the things you'll see in the charter process, those of you who are familiar with it. There's a couple of other pieces in there that are different. You used to have some amendments in it, appendices in it, I'm sorry. Those things have been embedded into the text of the document now. And frankly, there's the language around the powers of the charter has been kind of tempered somewhat to really make sure that the powers in the district reside with the school board versus the charter. The charter does have some say in my evaluation, but its evaluation is included by school board.
Yeah, we could have had a choice last time to include the charter stuff or not to include it.
You know, we were discussing which things were there, ones that.
and a lot of times we just, usually in the meeting we put all together kind of to, are we gonna take an average, or we taking this one, or we're usually pretty close.
Yeah.
On scoring.
And it's our choice when we do it anyways.
So don't overthink it, you see it's gonna be a little bit daunting looking. But, so how we normally do it is like do a score, like 1 to 4. We do the scoring, which is excellent, and like how we're doing that, and then it's a place for comment. And so you just kind of write how you would be doing your sentence. And then we have Holly come, and she puts all of the comments that we all make together on one thing, and then we all kind of choose the best way to word it. She words all of ours together. Using AI now.
Yeah.
Which is much faster. And kind of like makes one that, and we all like agree, like, okay, I like that, we don't like that, you know, and stuff like that. In a meeting, and that which makes it a lot more simple. So it's a little bit overwhelming.
I think we should have a vote to actually tell Holly to use AI, and don't bother us with us trying to put it all together for her.
We could tell her that, like, hey,
that's the biggest thing of the whole thing.
we could actually tell her that before you come, put all of our comments together into AI, and then when we come together, then we can be like, okay, just keep it a little bit, and then it'll be like a
That was
20-minute
the whole thing. And we didn't do very good at it, because we were all worn out. We were like,
well, by the end, you're like, yeah, whatever, take the purple one, here's better.
So we're to have our stuff to Holly by when?
Well, I mean, technically, we're supposed to deliver it to Joe at the March meeting.
We were late last year.
We were late last year because the charter board couldn't meet, so we couldn't get there, right? So technically,
And we need to respect Holly, we have to give her some time.
Exactly.
And there's holidays and all that, so I'm just thinking.
Right. So I mean, realistically, we could probably get together with Holly at the February meeting, which we've done, and then we can, any changes that we make that night, we would need to approve at our March meeting and then deliver it to him at the meeting. We can do that.
So when you look at it, get to the points, you can do tenths of a point. First year I did it, I didn't realize that until I saw other people scoring, because I just thought it was 1, 2, 3, or 4. You can do 4 points 2.9. There won't be any 2.9.
And the goal is to do it on your own and submit it to Holly.
With comments, right? We
And
should
you'll-
get
and you'll
a
like
comments
it.
on it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you'll likely feel a lot more like to go to the whole thing to Judge Joe because you've not been on the board very long.
We want to give a little bit of extra time.
I'm not qualified to even rate the first one because.
I mean, with the holidays and stuff, by the time Donna gets it updated and to us in 2 holidays. So do we want to just make sure?
And we can sometimes our meeting in February, and we can say that we'll have a couple weeks of it, and we'll get into that.
That's fine.
Yeah, we give her
Trying to put it all together.
together.
She can put it all together, send it to us for
Yeah.
personal review, and then we can show up with
Yeah, there you
comments,
go.
right? So
Yeah.
let's put a goal to have the individual evaluations to Holly by the 19th of January.
And she's at the library, when you walk right in the library, just to the left, Holly's right in there, you just hand them to the lady up front.
Or you can just.
What's it called, what's it, oh, you email? No, I didn't hand them in person.
You don't either.
I get in trouble. I do sometimes.
And I hear
Probably
you.
better do tablet and a chisel.
I hand them to Holly in person.
And you can, if it's easier for those of you who aren't doing it electronically, if you want to get the hard copy to me, I will scan it and email it to her on your behalf, or you can just drive to Roseburg and do it.
Track her down at home.
So she's in Riddle?
And so Holly going to do the collaboration with the charter board?
So the charter board will have their stuff into her as
But
well.
we're going to
We'll have,
collaborate with them.
She gets what they give her, and then she puts it on the charter board one. The charter board for this stuff.
So, I'll wait for the charter board by that Tuesday, we have this. And is it,
that'd be great. So it'd be nice if the directors had it no later than December 19th from Donna. Give us a month to procrastinate for you. We would never do that.
Set a reminder on your phone.
Yeah.
Thursday. At least.
Right.
Oh my gosh, I have email.
Okay, anything more on that? Carrying on.
you know, you guys need help.
Going out and forward it to me, and then I'll give it.
Well, actually, we're going to see your evaluation, right? You do a self-evaluation. of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
And so you should have, before December 19th.
Just that I was.
Coming back.
I'm guessing that's gonna be on the same email, but we get our link one from Donna, it will also have your self-evaluation.
Some suggestions.
Guys, there's some dried fruit over here if anybody wants. Okay. Seismic. What is it?
Seismic grants.
Yeah, that.
So, we are done. We're done. The commission is going how does this begin?
Did you get a letter?
Yeah, I did. I got a second letter. I actually had Brian, I was playing this game where I was telling Brian what I wanted, he wrote something, and finally he said, Brian, just talk directly with the insurance agent. So, take me out of it. So I'm not gonna screw up the language in it, right? Just So he actually talked to them, generated the letter, then sent it to them, and they still didn't approve it. Even after he worked with them. So I've got a meeting on Wednesday with the other superintendents here in the county. We're going to be talking about this business because the issue is that PACE isn't insuring any of these older trusses that are longer, 50 years old or older trusses in the state. And they're primarily insured. And so I'm even looking like, what are our options for finding different insurance at this point? Because
There's only one more, isn't there?
I don't know who that is. Actually,
Pace kind of has the monopoly.
yeah, Pace kind of has a monopoly, but there are some of the larger districts that do some stuff themselves or have their own stuff. So there might be some other ways, but I'm just looking into it right now because I just think this whole thing is ridiculous. And I know it's just the trigger shy after North crash. Okay, fine. Done.
That was after the
Why
fact
did
that
else
stuff got
have to
done.
pay for that? You know?
And then you're going to go the way it was. Come on now.
I would have been really
Throw the
close.
money back. I wouldn't insure it either.
So anyway, so that's currently done, and I did want you to know that we are still engaged with Brian and Austin on our committee of people who are working on our grounds and stuff. They're not paid. They're just like chiming in and giving us some assistance to points. And I'll show you on that when I get a chance to report to you. I think I'll probably share that on my self-evaluation, just to give you a little more depth on all the work we've been doing there. You know, to get through the time now. SIA agreement. Okay, the state of Oregon, in all their wisdom, has determined that this is something that I need to share with the school board. Okay? And what I'm going to do here today is I'm going to prompt you to some certain pages. Okay? So we'll just start there at the top. And so what this is actually our plan for what we're doing as a school. And this integrated application does result in us getting funding. Okay? And it has to check a bunch of boxes, and it does have to pass muster with the state, and they have to push the word and do all this information. But what I want to do here with this document to start with is point out that this is the 25-27 integrated application. So this is something that I've already talked to you guys about before, because when we went to make changes and update it, I talked to you about those changes back in August, maybe. Okay? But as she scrolls down to the bottom of this first page, and you have copies of this information, you'll see this symbol represents questions that will be pre-populated with responses from the 23-25 application. Because so much of it was founded in how things were operational before I even got here. All right? And as you start to look at this document, you're going to find that that's not the preponderance of information, but it's not half of the information in this document. Okay? And so that little asterisk is really an important mark, and I think make note of throughout this document. I'm not going to walk you through every page here. You're certainly capable of doing that yourself. I'm going to have her skip to some high points that I do want to call your attention to. Go to page 7. Okay. There it is. Back up to right there. Okay, so I want to just call your attention to this right here on outcome of engagement. So looking at your community engagement process holistically, what did you learn from community staff input? Okay, so this was kind of the cornerstone of how we did a lot of the work on this, and that is that we recognize that the 23-25 plan, actually, we were able to put it into motion to get results. And you might remember me talking about the fact of what our achievement has been and how it has been on an upward swing, because the foundation from that document provided us what we needed to do to move that stuff forward. So there's no reason to throw the baby out with the bathwater and start over on something if we're being successful with it. And I reported to you what our academic means in the past, so you know what I mean when I'm talking about the growth that we've seen in reading, math, and school attendance over the last 3 years. Okay? And I'll also take you to the next page, where it talks about right there. So number 3 here says, describe your system for analyzing disciplinary referrals, suspensions, expulsions. Okay. So this is a particularly interesting mark because some of the stuff that we've had with regards to our policies about behavior and the handbook and some of those things, we change it. We change it every summer. Okay. But this one is marked this way. So as you get into testing it, you're going to see some stuff that you're going to do. But is that how we do stuff? That's why we want to make sure you see if these things are earmarked that way or not, because some of this was written in 23 or even 22. Okay. Scroll further to page 10 if you would, please. Right there. Yeah, thank you. Perfect. Okay, so the plan summary, provide an overview of the plan. Okay, so that's what this does right here. This actually summarizes the plan for you. So if you want to kind of cut to the chase of the thing, you go to this slide here and you get a real quick sense of what the plan looks like. And you'll see what I said there in regards to how 23-25 plays into this. What you probably don't know is all the work that went into analyzing and preparing the 25-27. So we have staff, student, community, parent surveys that we do. I do student empathy interviews. I mean, there's a bunch of information we take in to see if what we're doing is on track or not. Okay? And so that's what this speaks to a little bit here is about how we determine to go from like 5 goals to 3 and some of those kinds of things. It comes to us because of the input that we've taken from the community, the staff, and the students. Might be my last note that I just wanted to highlight here, rather than going through every page. It's there for you. If you have any questions, you know where to find me. And if you're having trouble sleeping, let me know how to get for you there. But honestly, the state of Oregon has Division 22 standards that I report on every year, and I'm then required to show that it was on the agenda, that I presented it. Then I have to send a copy of that agenda then to the state, and then they go to our minutes on our website to see that it was discussed. Now we're doing that with this document as well. Okay. And so it's part of their accountability plan.
I'm going to add that this is grant agreement is what they want to have. So I just pulled it up.
Yes. Yes.
So this is the official grant agreement that we have to present to you guys with the amount that you'll get in the next 2 years. It's about $655,000, so it's a big chunk that we get from the state, and that's without a decrease. And this is the grants they're considering decreasing even more. But we're hoping to get these funds projected for this possibility for this time.
Does none of the grant have anything to do with the verbiage?
No. It's really. And this is SIA, so this went down a little bit this year.
What's the SIA stand for?
Student investment account. And this is where we have to go to community, and the community has kind of sent us that they really wanted to have, we had a K-1 class, but they really wanted us to hire a teacher so we can have a kindergarten class and a first grade class. So that's how this is funded. So this is able to fund 2 teachers so we can make sure that those classes stay. So we have to take kindergarten class, first grade.
So they set the criteria, and as long as we meet that criteria, we get the full grant.
Well, so the community sets the criteria. Yeah, community tells us the community, students, parents, teachers. So they're the ones who said it'd be nice if you had a music program. Okay, so it'd be nice. We need behavioral specialists. Okay. I mean, those types of things. So then the plan was to include that information, and then we funded it that time.
And so it's really just the inclusion and the plan itself. It's doing it that gets you the grant.
Mm-hmm.
It's going through the motions of it.
Yeah. Any questions about? Okay. Thank you. I'll move on then. Classified contract update. So without getting into the details of the actual negotiations, I just wanted to share with you that that we got an initial offer from the Classified Association. We countered with an offer to them. They countered back to us. We're very, very close. Actually, their last offer was down to 3 items. The team that's working on it is in agreement on how we're going to approach that offer. I will probably put that counter in tomorrow, now that I've had a chance to talk with Clint, make sure. But, and I think that it's possible we could be in agreement on a contract before the Christmas break. I think it's possible. Okay. So that's going most smoothly. Parent-teacher conference summary. Wanted to share this with you. We moved a date of it. You might remember that we moved that, and I was kind of fearful that could really kind of upset the apple cart in how things work. So I did a little bit of research on what our members look like. I didn't get all teachers, but I did find that in our K-5, we had one family who did not come. K-5.
One.
Great. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah. And I know there are other ones who my secondary teacher said, yeah, this has been great. What best numbers I ever had. And so I really believe this can be served so differently. Probably. No, I mean seriously. I mean, you know, it's like people have to already sacrifice dairy from down to it anyway. You know, you throw some spaghetti and a little garlic bread out, and it's only fair, right? So, I mean, honestly, you got to feed the kids anyway. So, anyway,
makes it
the kids is great. It was great, and I just like one of it, but really good numbers. And it's like, I just wanted to share that with you. On the list of things that I wanted to discuss here, I include the 26-27 school calendar. One of the things on that calendar, now this is next year's school calendar, is where that occurs. You might remember, we had the whole conversation about moving it because of where it landed next to Veterans Day and how close to that dates and things. And I don't know if I shared with you at that time or not, but there's a lot of staff that feel that it should be earlier in the year, that it should be in the first quarter rather than in the second quarter. Okay? I don't know if that's, okay, if you guys knew more, you know that there's always a difference between the elementary and secondary kids. There always is. So I don't know if this is one stinking or the other. I'm working on that as we speak, actually. But a lot of staff have said they'd like to see it in the first semester. So I'm going to find out in the next 2 weeks if that's something that they're all agreeing on. Because today I actually sent an initial calendar out for them to review. I sent it to both of our associations to review with their rank and file folks to let me know if they have any concerns about it. I have a draft copy. I haven't given it to you guys yet because I want to get this back first before it goes through those iterations. But where we are, as we sit here today, is I have a draft of the 26-27 calendar. It's been vetted by the admin team and the secretarial staff to kind of catch the things they probably did wrong the first time. It's now in the hands of the associations. I expect that back before Christmas, so I can come back to this group in January as well with a copy for you to actually review. You don't have to approve it at that time. You can take it and advise it, walk home with it, do with it what you like. But and then at least examine it going forward. And I'm hoping by that time my staff will tell me if they like the idea of the early or later. I don't know what that's going to be. The only other thing really on that calendar that's at all dramatically different is moving that date to the Saturday, the graduation to the Saturday. Okay, that business. Most everything else, it's one of those years where, it's just one little day down the line, you're just going to ship everything one down. Really, the first 2 years, I'm sure it was not that way, but this time it was, and so, it was very easy to do. I'm hoping to get you guys your first look at it in January. hiring behavioral specialists. I put this on here, and this is kind of a interesting little thing. So, you may recall that, excuse me, we had in our plan that I was just sharing with you up here from 2225, there was a recommendation that we hired behavioral specialists. When I first arrived, I saw that, and I was looking for a behavioral specialist, only to find out that ESD was awarded a big grant, and they gave us a behavioral specialist. And we've had her on staff now for 2.5 years. She does a great job, and it was Aaron Payne, her son, Sawyer. Anyway, but their grant is up. And Leah and I kind of anticipated some of this, that it might not work out this year with federal monies at all. So we kind of made sure we had some money in this year's budget to catch this if it should fall with ESD, which it did. So their funding, rather than lasting through June, actually dies in December. Actually, in like another week. So we are in a position now to actually. So she's actually technically their employee, not ours. So we're going to be opening a behavioral specialist position with a high interest in the gallery skills. Okay. That doesn't mean we're not going to do it. I mean, it's open to the public. And we're going to begin interviewing next week, and we'll be back to the board with a formal recommendation in January for whom to hire for that position. But that's why we're doing it a year, and that's why we're not asking for any more money, because we were already planning on this. Okay. We kind of anticipated you guys go a little south next, so we're prepared. Okay, and that concludes my report. Any questions?
I was wondering if, if feeding these people actually got them interested in coming to the parent-teacher conference or whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe we ought to think about feeding them some spaghetti for the stay at the school.
Yeah.
I mean, if these people like food, let's feed them. If we can get them to come in and actually
Well, the trick to that is where that feeding money comes from. Right. So, but I hear you. I agree with you. I agree with you. I've spoken to FFA about possibly doing that.
Yeah.
Okay, so
there you go.
What night, since it was brought up, what night is the date of the school?
January 27th.
Day of the week is what?
Sunday.
Wednesday?
It's not Wednesday.
No, January 22nd.
I thought it was Sunday. It should be a Thursday or Tuesday. I stay off the
Thursday.
Thursday.
Yeah, so know that there's the fire departments in the area all do trainings on Thursday night.
Well, good. Okay, so
Canyonville and Sage Creek when they train, and Milo is on
I mean,
Thursday.
my honest truth is it's an arbitrary date I picked on the calendar, not really. I don't have any problem moving it, I just need to advertise it and move it. So if you like, I can move like. So State of Your School is where I actually, honestly, I think it's kind of neat. So I actually invite the public to come down to the school, and I tell them about what's going on in the school currently, what's happening. In this particular one, my ambition is to share with the community the first draft of a layout of our community center. Okay? Because in that draft, in that schematic that we created, it has all their ideas. Okay? And so the idea is like, hey, this isn't the joke plan, this is your guys' plan. This is what you guys want the community center. And then solicit even further information from it. So it's not just a sit and get. Yeah, they'll sit and they'll get a little bit from me and from some other speakers, maybe some students speak to them as well. But for the most part, it's also interactive where the community can ask questions about anything that's going on in the school, and there's a floating microphone that goes around this stuff. And so we call it State of Your Schools.
Yeah, we do surveys.
Yeah, we do surveys.
Survey them and see what they'd like to they feel like it's going well and not going well.
I use survey information from that for that report that I did. So it's just an opportunity to create an agenda for them to interact with the school where they may not otherwise.
And have some pizza.
We have some pizza. So back to the date. Since Valerie doesn't like that one. Well,
I think that's, she has a good point.
yeah, no, I'm teasing.
There was just, last year there was just really, I was really sad with the attendance on it. And I don't know how much that played into it.
I know they train like every Thursday, but can they even invite the fire department? I mean, it's the state of the school, but it would also be nice maybe to have the chiefs of the departments come down, because we have some filler, Dave Street, came in earlier, and maybe just call the chiefs all up, and maybe they can talk for a couple minutes about volunteering, what we have to do to volunteer. Oh, we're very low on volunteers in all the departments. That would include them, that could be a training night for them.
The state of the community.
Because I mean, it's huge, the volunteer numbers are down everywhere, and if they come in their, in their turnout, and kind of like kids are like, well, that's really cool, or whatever. But I think it'd be great because I know that all of our communities are suffering, not having that volunteers.
If you guys can contact information. So that's our current one here, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And
Kevin Kehoe,
Kevin, is he the tiller?
he's a tiller chief.
Okay. And his contact information is
Kevin's going, I have Don Jeske is our Milo chief.
Yep, 541-825-3837.
Okay. And Jesse's?
Jeske is, he has two numbers, 541-825-3024. This is home, and 643-5100. This is, yes.
I think it'd be cool to have something from the school to give the chiefs of the fire department in our community some time too. Which is something a little like thank you, because it's serving with the people who are here.
And does anybody have any scoop on Canada?
Oh, yes.
It's not, Paul Geske.
Paul Geske.
I don't.
Yeah.
I do not have contact information.
All right, I can look at it.
Jeske has it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I've got it.
Any other things in the community we want to include in the state of our post office?
I know what they do. Any more of it? Go get my name.
So, that's it. So, let's just, I'm going to play devil's advocate for a second. Let's just say they've got somebody coming in to do special training on that day and they can't do it. Okay, Then maybe I should leave the date. I mean, I know I've advertised it. I sent it out in the community quarterly letter stuff. But if I was to move it, I could run over the meeting room and then make a blast. I could blast it in a lot of ways. I don't know if that's a good idea or not. I just don't know. But
I feel like it does not depend on most of them. I think it's pretty.
And I think with the intention of benefiting them, it would be more inclined to. Yeah, I think if we kept it on the 22nd, if it was, maybe they could encourage their trainees to get the training night.
all right. 22nd of January.
Okay, moving on to consent agenda items. We can do these in one fell swoop if we decide. Or we can address each of them.
new dedication school thing.
I can't vote on these.
Okay. I looked at the minutes, I didn't notice anything.
I looked at them, I thought they came back here.
Dawn taking minutes.
Actually, I think you did.
Yeah, taking minutes on this last one.
Didn't you take that one of those?
Okay, let's just discuss them. Okay, then Carter for the assistant. Does anybody see anything on the consent agenda items they'd like to discuss? Well, good. Okay, then I move that we approve the consent agenda items.
There's a second, all in favor? That's everyone. Talking about everyone. Leah.
Board report, so that's my written report to the board. Any questions on that? I'm not going to repeat it out loud. And let's go to the revenue and expenditure report. One of the changes I know that I've been talking about, if I'm watching, is our taxes. And usually we get a big chunk in November, so we're able to get a lot in our property taxes, and I'm only anticipating about a $10,000 to $14,000 difference. And that's because we've been getting about 95% of what has been set. In the last, I did a 5-year reconciliation payment in the last 5 years of what's happened, and trying to figure out what the trend is between how much we, from the state or the county says what we should get and what we actually get, and the percentages and so the past 5 years on that. And so that was the biggest, that was relief in some ways because I thought it was going to be a lot less. But that should be about where we land. It's about $10,000 to $15,000 difference for budget. Our interest account has gone down by a couple points, but not a lot, but just this one. So, and got probably on the revenue side. Any changes on the salary side? There's not been any updates. Currently, we're right on track with our expenditures. I know Joe and I had a conversation with the staff just to be, that we're looking at specific things that we need, not necessarily we want, so that we can anticipate the next budget season for next year. Like Joe said, we're going to be closed out our seismic grant in terms of that we got all of our documentation to the state. Now I just have to wait for the state to pay them, to pay us, so I can pay our contractors their last and final invoice. And so this will hopefully, hoping to get our money back this month. We'll see, update this for next board meeting. And there hasn't been any much changes to the other funds. Do you have any questions on that? One of the things I know we want to talk about was cafeteria. We've had, with the updated changes, with having food being prepared, that was one of the things I know the board really wanted this year, was to not have a process food. And so with that, we're also finding different challenges. There's a lot more dishes, a lot more spills, a lot more messes, but the kids are eating real food. So you're looking at, but we've had to have a maintenance crew in the cafeteria while they're eating because there's so many spills and it's harder stuff to clean up and
A week ago, last Monday, at lunch, we had exactly 200 students at lunch.
Wow.
We got 200, well, this week we have a little shortly.
Yeah. And that's a huge change from last year.
So the word is out that the food is good.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
My worry was even like last year, some kids weren't even bringing lunch. They just refused to eat the food, so they just weren't eating all day long. I'm so glad to hear that.
That's a great improvement.
Yeah. So, yeah.
And the portions. So they really are getting a lot of it.
That was another complaint too, before we still wasn't enough.
And we're still meeting
have done.
We are working on the maintenance, on the management side of the thing.
Yeah, the food preparation side,
Fantastic.
the management side, we got some tightening up with that stuff.
And there's a little bit more maintenance to the area itself because of the food being harder to.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know, our dishwasher is running all day, with more water.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, they're just all those little things you don't really think about until you're on engineering. So, oh yeah, that's going to increase, that's going to increase, but this might decrease. You know? We also were able to get Onslaught Dairy milk back to the school. We had to kind of make a deal with the Ray's Market in Sangerville. So the Onslaught Dairy delivered it to Ray's. We have to go get it at Ray's so that we can. But it's 20 cents cheaper for every carton, so I've already saved every carton. Yeah, so I already saved like $280 this month. Wow.
So for that one, we were using before, why were we Cisco?
It would come and it'd be like expired in 2 days. So you're having, you know, and then we end up with a surplus because we order a lot because we need a lot. And we're going to the store to go buy milk because we don't have milk.
So I'm just going to call out Leah on this, because this is Leah's work. She did all the legwork on making the connections with Umpqua, creating a location at which could be dropped off, where we could pick up. I mean, she's creating it. It'll save a lot of money.
The Umpqua guy just wanted me to stop calling.
But Cisco was giving us milk that was like expired this next day. I mean, it's really ridiculous. Now the Umpqua milk that we're getting is good for.
They
always have a really long experience.
And the kids love it. They're so excited to have Umpqua. They're so happy.
So have you ever figured out a per student extra cost by us making these changes? Has anybody ever done that?
I'm actually, I've been following just how much it's, you know, expended last year to this year, because you're talking processed food costs more, but you're also, we're buying a little bit more. It's been about the same. I think right now, when I looked at the numbers, we're about 2,000. We spent $2,000 more so far up until, December from last year compared to this year. But you're like, that's actually not a huge difference, but just the food is better.
That's a small difference.
Yeah, and when I come to Umpqua Dairy for the rest of the year, I'm like, we're going to save $2,800. Right?
And the more kids eating it, because it's all free.
And
It's all free, so the more kids eating it, we get more.
See, this is what Rod Todd was talking about, it being important for us to be board members. We actually push for that, and the kids are happier. That's a great improvement, guys.
We're excited about those.
It's really fascinating to me, because what Leah said, it doesn't get lost. I mean, the processed food costs more.
Yeah.
But the manpower it takes to make it, when you actually have people who do it actually offsets that cost. If you do a product, students are liking the product. It's a huge deal.
The other thing with budget is our transportation costs. This is what I wanted to talk about. We're currently probably going to go over on our budget for transportation. We've been hit with having a sped student in the area that gets transported from their home to the class that's in Myrtle Creek. So that's an everyday. What we used to have was a shared mileage. So they would pick up other students along the way, which helped offset that cost. But now that those other students are gone to high school and ours is still in junior high, the cost and the full amount of cost is on us. And that was not anticipated. I didn't know that. So that's going to be a $20,000 swing probably, I'd say. And then our home to school. So last year we had 3 of our bus drivers retire. Again, we contract with for students, but they still are Days Creek bus drivers, right? They drive athletics, they are committed to us. So we had 3 buses here all the time. They would come here, start here, do their route, come back here. Well, right now we only have 1 unofficial Days Creek bus driver, which means that our buses are coming all the way from Myrtle Creek, and so we're getting charged Myrtle Creek mileage all the way down. And so there's a lot of increase in that cost. So I really want, if you guys know anybody that wants like to be a Day Street bus driver, that would help. And so that's what I'm trying to, so we're really trying to push that out there, because if we can get somebody that commits to being a Day Street bus driver, it saves us money, but it also helps with athletic events. Because then you say, hey, they want to drive those, that's their extra time. They're not our employee, but they get to represent their bus drivers. So with that extra cost, on the last few months, there's going to be some extra cost with that. So you're like, okay, if that continues, then our budget's going to be right at, but it's going to be over between those two things.
And that just goes into the,
Is my bus still going up again, or are they just stopping for it?
It should be going up both directions right now. Once the family moves, it won't go up Canyon, right, it'll still go Ridgeway.
Yeah, I've seen your advertising in the news review. You guys just had an advertising for a bus driver, I think.
Yes, yeah. So those are the two we wanted to talk about today.
What do you guys pay a bus driver? Is it hourly?
yes.
Yes, yeah. They're not our employees, so I don't pay them.
Oh, okay, all right.
Per student pays them, but we get charged, like, I see their mileage.
First student will train them to get their CDL.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, that's CDL. And
And how different CDLs are endorsements depending on the length of our student.
Oh, okay.
We are required to provide transportation to and from school, but not necessarily to school units.
And do we have to provide transportation to out-of-district students, or only the in-district? I guess because I thought I heard say Myrtle Creek.
Well, I think you can't be a charter school, but you have a pickup. Like, since we go to Myrtle Creek and pick up kids, you can say you need to get your tickets to Canyon
Yeah.
at the pickup spot. So I think we could have a like good tickets.
Say this, they spend students with Myrtle Creek or Myrtle Creek.
Yeah, they
They go to a special program.
Well, they go to Myrtle Creek. Oh, okay, gotcha.
And it's not a program we can offer here.
So the bus or van comes in. Bus comes up for one student.
I went back to my brain. I guess I can go down to the voucher report. And if there was any questions on that. I reviewed it and I did not have any questions. Yeah, it was a pretty standard one. A lot of transportation costs, but yeah. That was around $54,000. And it was it depends on how many days of school we have. November's a big month of, 18 and 19 days of school. Or it's like December, So it's also offset. There's no other questions. Okay, keep going. Audit. We got our audit report, and it's to the state. Very exciting. I do have it in front of you, and then the auditor is going to do their presentation to you guys at the January board meeting. So if you could look over the audit, if you have any questions, bring it to the board meeting in January, please. We also gave you guys sent a letter to the board members. I believe I emailed that out, and then I also it's attached here for you guys to read over. It's kind of just a general overview of the audit. there were no findings on the audit. You read the very back page is usually their final report, and that's where it tells you if there's any findings. Findings.
Good job.
All right, so proposed, yes. So we moved this from last month to this month because we wanted to update that June board meeting. So this is the updated proposed budget calendar that has the new date on it, as the 22nd as your budget hearing and your regular hearing.
So that's been moved to after that.
Okay. That one is an action item, yes. Okay. And so that concludes my presentation.
A lot more kids are eating with food, and really we're not spending more money per kid, right? You said you're spending $100,000 more, but if that many more kids are eating, I assume that it's probably actually even
Right.
still less per kid.
Because I can report those numbers back to the state every month, and then you get reimbursed per meal. So the more meals you serve per state, the more money you get reimbursed. So it does help offset that.
I think this is really excellent.
Enrollment report, sounds great.
Oh, I haven't seen this myself. 236 on all figures.
Wow.
And I also heard about a couple kids moving back in the district.
Yeah, just today we looked at that. Also, I mean, this is always so fluid, so yeah, 2 new ones today. We had another new one, week before last. We showed up for a half day, we went home and hasn't been back. And we heard today that they're enrolling in a homeschool program. And so, I mean, okay, so I can tell you those 236 are not the same 236 as, it's never that static though. But it's still a pretty good number that we're staying at there. Yeah. Particularly when you realize we budgeted for 225. Very impressive.
Nothing but growth since I've been here.
We had a special case for when we finally hit 200, didn't we?
You know what?
Yeah, we had a case made when our enrollment.
Oh, is that right?
200.
That's good. You want to get 3.
Action items. We have a few. And these are going to be one by one.
Alright, so I move that we schedule a charter contract public hearing for January 12th.
A second.
Moved and double seconded.
This second is,
All in favor?
I move that we appoint Jerry Wilmore as the budget member.
I second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
I move that we approve Debbie Fuller as a budget member.
I'll second it.
Moved, seconded by Todd, all in favor? Everyone?
I move that we approve the proposed budget calendar for 26 and 7.
Second.
Moved, seconded by Clint, all in favor? Everyone?
I move that we update the board meeting to June 22nd, 2026.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Todd, all in favor?
I move that we consider our graduation date for 2026 to May 30th.
Saturday, May 30th.
Saturday, 30th.
I second that.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
I was going to find it before I couldn't figure out what it was. I was looking at my notes and I wondered if it was. You're doing so good.
It is now executive session. Anybody, any of our board members have anything they want to say?
As far as the executive session,
No?
Director
Just
report?
Director report.
I'd like to say something. I attended the interviews with Erin, as a matter of fact. With Erin and I had been interviewed together. And she's the counselor, I guess she's a counselor.
We have a special staff.
Yeah. She's great, by the way. And we had a lot of fun, and the interviews were fun. We interviewed 5 students. And I thought it was great. And the students did really good. We had one weak one out of the bunch, but the other 4 were really pretty impressive. I mean, if I was truly interviewing them, I would hire any of the other 4. Which 4 out of 5 is pretty good. And I would say that there's a few things I would tweak on it. For instance, it was a mock interview, so they were all interviewing for the same job. And it was like a job that none of them would actually interview for. But because it was a mock interview, we're kind of Erin and I are pretending that that's who we are.
Right.
And but they're not really pretending that that's the job they want, because each of them actually have an idea about what they want to do in life.
Right.
So I would say that part should be tweaked. It would be better for us as interviewers to be interviewing each student, to be pretending that we're somebody in that area. That they would want to give us construction. So that's a piece of constructive criticism. One other piece of constructive criticism, because I didn't get to talk to the lady, what's her name? What was her name? The other thing that I would say, and this is really important, is that after the student interviews with us, we should be able to take a 1 or 2 minute period directly after the interview and give the student feedback. Immediate feedback would be very good for the students.
We usually do.
Okay, we did not give the students immediate feedback. We wrote down our evaluation stuff, but that's the way to do it. Because then you're actually telling the student, okay, here's what you did right, here's what you did wrong, and we didn't do that. That was a miss.
We'll do it one more
We'll
time.
do it again.
Yeah, and I'll do it again. It was actually funny.
My phone didn't alert me to it.
It would be nice if we could have more volunteers doing it, so each of us didn't interview quite as many kids, I would say, so that we had time to fill out the rubric, the 4 different rubrics on that.
That was complicated too. The rubric, it was a lot. It was complicated.
Yeah, some of the questions didn't really.
Yeah, I would tweak that too if I was doing this program. But I think the immediate feedback would have been the best thing, because there's some things I could have talked to the students about that would have really helped them, but I didn't have a chance to do that.
It's a great time if you guys get a chance, and it's incredible. It's a great opportunity to really see our kids.
Yes.
Who's graduating from this place.
Pretty impressive, I gotta say.
That's my favorite thing right after Christmas as well.
Yeah.
It is great.
Is it only seniors?
Yeah. So you get a chance to see what the talents are as they're coming just about right across the stage. Additionally, and just for what's worth, but I also, in addition to that, I also interview each senior personally, and that's usually anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour.
Wow.
Where I'm talking to them about what are you doing? Where's your plan? I'm not trying to redirect them. I want them to be able to articulate what they're thinking.
I think that's great.
And so I can only not do it. I mean, it's taking a lot of time. But, and so I spend months doing it. But I also do it because I want to make sure that our kids are ready. I want to be able to look for those kids in the eye. I know the boy you're talking about who wasn't ready. He's got a bunch of issues that go much further than his academics.
Yeah.
So, but.
I really wanted to help him.
Yeah.
I really wanted to just say, hey, I can really help you with a few things. I'm a lawyer, right?
Yeah.
You know, I'm not some kind of professional guy, but I've interviewed before, and I know how to talk to people, and I could have really helped that kid. And I was like, man, I could just have him for about 5 or 10 minutes. Yeah, you know, it was a fairly serious issue, but it was good. I would encourage anybody to do it. It was really a lot of fun.
And it's just nice to be able to see who our kids are, what our kids look like when they're willing to go across the stage, you know, if you will nuts. And for me, those are the things I do is for that purpose too. I want to make sure that our kids are ready to go across that stage.
Yeah.
So how would you go about, what job were they interviewing for?
Well, it was like we were in a store, like the front meeting type, meet and greet at a store. They were like, and they were kind of over the clerks. It was kind of a management-oriented job, but just kind of meeting the public and being over the clerks, that like checkout clerks. It was kind of a funky deal. It was hard to be a moth. It was kind of,
We used to have like the DFDA come in, and they would actually interview the kids like they interview them for the job, and afterwards kids got hired. Got hired.
Did all the seniors participate in that? So they could actually kind of say, I want to do construction.
yeah, I think the moth was fair. The student chose it.
That's the first suggestion, is interview the kids.
Yeah, let them choose it. And then we get a little thing ahead of time to know what they were, okay, this is going to be a construction interview. We were just faking it anyway. It's a mock interview, so we can mock anything. But at least that way the interaction is more true. Yeah.
Thanks for your report, because I actually was going to do it, and then it kind of slipped my mind, but I was a little bit hesitant because I wasn't really sure how it went, but, you know, I know about what
You've been a
Well, I know I've interviewed a lot of people, but I know what I know about. So I'm like, well, what kind of mock am I going to be doing? And like, if this is for construction, I don't know anybody.
But not having a kid in the school system, you'd be very warmly surprised about the quality of students.
Oh, I'm there.
You do the specific questions. You're not just winging it with questions. Everybody gets asked the questions.
Okay. Now, I got to experience something like that when I was in the Rotary Club in Klamath. I was on a committee for 4 years where we interviewed kids that had applied for scholarships. And they really, because that was several years ago, and I may have had a little bit of a bad attitude about youth in the country, just kind of in general, because I don't have any kids. And so it was really eye-opening for me, because, of course, those were, cream of the crop, top quality kids that I could talk to.
And Aaron was really, I like Aaron.
Yes.
Yeah, I got good feedback from whoever interviewed people that were like, Ashley is great. He knows a lot of stuff about your business. I'm like, hey, he knows how to lie. I mean, he picks up some stuff, but he must really be good at like selling himself.
That's what interviews are for, right?
They're like, he is so good. He knows so much. All right.
Any other directors with the report? Anything to bring up? All right. Announcements. Looks like we are in basketball season.
Yes.
And the middle school is doing a winter dance. Okay. Is that here at the school?
Yes.
Okay.
If any of you guys can volunteer for the Christmas Bazaar on the 18th, that is my absolute favorite day of the year. I will be gone because the high school kids have it's not on here, but they're at a big tournament over at Hamilton.
So let me just give a little bit more information on the Christmas Bazaar. Our little ones earn classroom dollars for their behavior and things that they do. They save it up all year long until it comes to the Christmas Bazaar. And at the Christmas Bazaar, we have all those gifts and stuff out here that kids go and purchase for their family, for their brothers, sisters, moms, and dads, with the monies that they earn from their classroom behavior. And then we have parents and community members here who help the kids walk around and pick out their gifts, and we have people wrapping them for them. And so that when they leave at the end of the day, they can take home Christmas presents for their family.
Cool. It's really cool. Like 7:30 to 2, 8 to 2, something like that.
So, you don't have to do the whole
like lunch, like they all bring in food and stuff, and food and stuff.
It is their process, okay. Last year we had one group, like, because we all take boxes, because it's easier to wrap a box than it is somebody's gift. So there was a boxing station, they took their gift over, and somebody was sticking in a box, and then they come over to the wrappers and they wrap it. Yeah, it's huge.
So that's what the volunteers do, is the boxing rally. That's what they do.
Sometimes you help them shop.
I just wrapped
So
it.
it's really fun to watch the older kids, because like the seniors and juniors, a lot of times, get to look at the classes rotate, like they get to choose one gift, and then my kids choose two gifts next time or something. But like the high school kids have a group of their own kids they help shop. It's really fun to watch the high school kids with the younger kids and like, you know, help them actually think about what they're picking out. Like, is that toy for you or is that toy really for your mom? Like, you know, or yeah, it's just a really fun day. It's a good
And it's surprising when you go into the gym how much stuff there is.
And donations too, they accept donations if you have like money things or you have at home.
I had one of the guys this morning, I come in, okay, 7 o'clock. There is a mountain of stuff like this big outside the door. for the yeah, I mean, brand new box kitchenware. All kinds of stuff. Yeah. It's really a wonderful.
Role Creek Fire Department usually donates quite a bit.
We were doing toy drive, which was, I think it was last week, and then, yeah, whatever they had left over, we were doing.
They still have, the Murphy Creek Fire Department still has their rubber boots out on the counter at Canyon Market. I saw it Saturday, and I quickly just threw a 20 in that thing, because these guys turn right around, and that is the money that goes to clothe our children in the Silver's house, which we did on Friday, which is so cool. 24 shoes, got new shoes, jackets, shirts, pants, I mean, it's crazy. $145 a kid. That takes care of it. Like that, telling us that look at Friday. You see one of those roots, man, throw something in there. Not your friends, but your money.
You know, we have such good public participation in certain things and then nothing in other things. You know, it's just amazing. Where's the tie-in? You know, where do we tie them into like this? What we're going to need for a levy? But like we're trying to get. Where are we going to tie? Because it seems like some things like people really want to be involved with the school and stuff, you know. And then other things, it's like it's not no energy.
I'm hopeful, though. I think a lot of it is just engaging them every time that we can. Okay, and so the idea about bringing the fire department down that day, I love that idea because I would do everything in my power to move that date to make sure they could attend. The last thing I want to do is create something that's going to leave, by design, leave somebody out. Right?
Yeah.
So I think any time that we're creating an opportunity to interface with the public,
Yeah, a sense of community. There's got to be a sense of community that has to hook up with where we need the energy.
We're going to have the Dave's Creek Fire Department actually asked about participating in the community center, actually moving to that community center. Because of the condition of the building over there and so forth, that they don't know how they're really going to remedy it. And when I had this conversation with, I'm not going to say anything because I didn't get it wrong, Bill. Anyway, he was talking about how Portland, he said, maybe we can engage, and maybe we have some funds we can be engaged in, like putting our fire department here. And actually do, and I talked about the fact that some of the conversations about, is also about having health benefits, and if you can just come hand in hand. So it's all a conversation. It's all about building more community. So that's not what we just need to do.
sure it's gonna be adorable, they always are.
Milton, the board member, saying. Right here in this room, I've watched them practice.
Okay, no public input. Oh, the last agenda item is adjournment. Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Everybody.
Everyone.
Thanks for being here,
Thank you.
Thanks for the dry fruit. That was delicious. Thank you, Jim. Who's at home looking for his plate?
That was dinner I just worked it up underneath them.
I went home with the breakfast last night, too.
Yes, and it was so good.
Sorry about the room setup.
That was great, but we did it.
Yeah, well,
Right.
it's gonna get discussed on Wednesday, because I was not happy.
Yeah.
I showed up for attendance till 6. And I did, because I cooked half of the fried dinner, and we cooked all the potatoes, and we wanted them to be hot, so we timed all that so we could be there in time to walk in, set it down. I think you met some other people who had about ready to go. And Chief's fault, the chief did his part, but when I got there, he's literally walking in circles around in that little kitchen with most of the people were already there, sitting around the tables and stuff on display. And I was like, what's the plan, Chief? Well, I don't know, we gotta, nothing is set out, the butter's still in the refrigerator.
Oh, yeah, it was hard.
Yeah, I'm going,
That was last night.
and my wife, when she went down there earlier in the day, said, she looked at, said, this ain't gonna work anymore, we need to move the engines out and stuff like that. And that's Pam's plan, and I think she wasn't there at first. Cliff's gonna, no, I'm not going against what Pam said, because he's like, lifetime, I'm not going against what Pam said. My brake's not getting me to sign on. So we're just gonna, and he got frustrated, he threw her hands up and said, all right. And
Yes, we're just in
so then,
people just saying that, or if you're we know that was a fight.
right. Well, if there's something where they can't just, or like on stage, I'm going, Chief's just going, he's short somebody because he's, well, then that, then we were so that I started to, well, okay,
so you know, it's actually funny because he's specific. Trust program.
they're going to hear about it. I felt it wasn't. I had to fix it.
The fighting doesn't really matter. I agree. So, I'm looking to see what the trust grants look like and how that really works, because I've heard they're coming. I haven't seen it yet. And also, Steve, what is because of this? The other state we're going to talk about doing, but doing the same exercise because of this. So they have everybody gets a seismic grant program here.
Maybe even the last person to get their dinner with that chair. I'm looking going, well, yeah, there are these suits in there, but they're like right in the middle of the island there. I'm not going to go ask everybody to do it, so I can slide with that money in there. That was very warm. We didn't even have to use our heater. It's pretty exciting. I got water flow heat or something. Those down there. And then I was so kind of uptight about it that I couldn't even do a presentation to open it up. So then Pam was upset that we hadn't done any of that.